Jannik Sinner actually be scared of prime Roger Federer? History never gave us this match, and honestly, that might be the most frustrating thing in modern tennis. Because when Jannik Sinner joined the tour, Roger was already battling injuries, surgeries, and the slow fade that eventually pushed him into retirement. The two of them missed each other by about half a generation, close enough to compare, far enough to never actually meet on court. So we're left doing what tennis fans do best, running the hypothetical, arguing in the comments, and trying to figure out who would have won a match that physics and timing simply refuse to give us. Now let's be real. Roger is Roger. The second you even think about questioning him, a voice in the back of your head starts whispering about the forehand, the Wimbledon runs, the footwork that looked like gravity worked differently for him. I completely get it. I'm a Federer fan too. But being a fan isn't the same thing as being honest. And tonight, we're trying to be honest. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Jannik Sinner, right now, isn't just another top player. He just completed the Sunshine Double, something Roger himself only managed 3 times in his entire career. He's been the most feared hardcourter in the world. He's won majors, he's solved grass, he's survived a suspension that would have broken almost anyone, and he keeps coming back like nothing happened. That's not a regular elite player. That's a guy operating on a different frequency. So we're going to do this properly. Serve, forehand, backhand, net play, return, movement, defense, fitness, mentality, surfaces. Category by category, Prime Federer from 2004 to 2007 and that scary 2017 comeback version against the Jannik Sinner who is currently terrorizing the ATP. No vibes-based takes, no nostalgia traps, just the actual game. Before we dive in, if you enjoy this kind of evidence-first breakdown, the kind of video that actually respects your tennis IQ, consider sticking around with Tennis Insider. We do a lot of these. Hit subscribe if you want more, and let's get into it. The answer might genuinely surprise you. The 2 versions of Prime Roger you can't ignore. When people say Prime Federer, they're usually not talking about one version. They're talking about 2 completely different monsters stacked into the same career. And if we're going to give Jannik Sinner a fair opponent, we need to be clear about which Roger we're putting across the net, because both versions are legitimately terrifying for different reasons. The first version is the 2004 to 2007 Roger. This is the guy who finished those years with 11 of his 20 Grand Slams, multiple weeks as world #1, and a win percentage that didn't even feel human. He was untouchable on grass, dominant on hard courts, and spent a frankly embarrassing amount of time making top 20 players look like qualifiers. His shot tolerance was off the charts, his movement looked like a dance routine, and his confidence was the kind you can't fake. In that window, opponents weren't even playing the match, they were playing the idea of Federer, and that idea beat them before the first ball was struck. Then there's the 2017 comeback version. This is the one people underestimate until they rewatch the tape. Post-knee surgery, Roger came back with a rebuilt backhand, a bigger racket head, and a new tactical identity. He was taking the ball on the rise, flattening his backhand returns, and shortening points in a way younger Roger almost never did. That's the version that went through Rafa 4 straight times, won 2 majors in a year, and briefly made everyone under 30 look scared again. If Jannik plays 2004 Roger, it's one type of problem. If he plays 2017 Roger, it's a different type of problem. More compact, more aggressive on return, and deadlier off the backhand wing. Stack those 2 versions together, and you get arguably the most complete attacking player the men's game has ever produced. Variety, disguise, first strike tennis, a surgical net game, and the ability to flip between 3 or 4 identities inside a single service game. Most modern players would struggle to even recognize that version of Roger, let alone beat him over 3 out of 5 sets. So when we talk about Sinner versus Prime Federer, we're not just talking about Sinner versus a memory. We're talking about Sinner versus both of the best versions Roger ever played. That's the fair fight, and that's the version we're going to run him against for the rest of this video. Why Jannik Sinner is basically a young Djokovic 2.0. Here's the thing almost every pundit agrees on, whether they're a Fed fan, a Rafa fan, or someone who just stumbled onto tennis last year. Jannik Sinner plays like a young Novak Djokovic. Not kind of, not there are similarities. Same footwork patterns, same return posture, same willingness to grind you down from 2 feet behind the baseline, and the same ability to flip defense into offense with 1 clean contact. Even Novak himself has basically said it, that Sinner plays the same type of tennis he does, just more aggressive, earlier on the ball, and a touch faster through the court. But calling him Djokovic 2.0 is more accurate than just calling him a Novak clone, because Sinner has added a couple of upgrades that young Novak did not have. His forehand is a genuine offensive weapon, heavier, flatter, and more repeatable than 2008 Djokovic's ever was. His serve, especially in the last 2 seasons, is a more consistent first strike tool, and his temperament is somehow even colder. Novak in his early 20s had visible frustration, meltdowns, retirements. Sinner looks like someone surgically removed the part of his brain that panics. Why does that matter for a hypothetical match against Prime Federer? Because Roger's worst matchups historically were players who could absorb first strike pressure, return serve at an elite level, and punish the backhand. Rafa did it with topspin. Novak did it with depth and redirect. Those were the 2 players who held up Federer's entire legacy as what if. And Sinner is literally built on the Djokovic blueprint, with a slightly better engine bolted on. That doesn't mean Sinner automatically beats Prime Roger. Style matchups in tennis are not that clean. But it does mean the worst-case scenario player for Prime Federer, a flat, machine-like baseliner with elite return, elite defense, and no mental fragility, is exactly the type of player Sinner already is at 24. He's not coming in with some weird experimental game. He's coming in with the one template that has historically given Roger problems, just tuned up with modern power and modern racket tech. In other words, the blueprint for breaking Prime Federer already exists. Novak wrote it. Sinner inherited it. And that is the quiet reason every version of this matchup is closer than instinct wants it to be. That's the real story before we even look at a single shot. The serve battle. Precision machine versus disguise artist. Let's start with the obvious, serve. This is where the match either opens up or stays brutally close, because both of these guys protect their service games with their lives, and one bad service game is usually enough to settle a set. Jannik Sinner's serve has quietly become one of the most dangerous weapons on tour. The data from analysts like Matthew Willis is frankly ridiculous.
Sinner is landing first serves within 46 centimeters of the line at roughly 124 miles per hour. That's not just accurate, that's not just fast. It's faster and more accurate than Novak Djokovic, who was historically considered the gold standard of high-percentage precision serving. You don't read that number and shrug. That's robotic-level placement and pace, and it's why Sinner is racking up unreturned serves, winning more service games than he used to, and making grown professionals look silly on big points. Players are openly saying it's tough to read, and even when they do read it, it's still tough to return. That's the ceiling. But Prime Federer's serve was something different. It wasn't about raw speed records. Roger's whole thing was disguise. Identical toss, identical motion on the flat, the slice, and the kicker. Opponents couldn't read his toss, couldn't anticipate the direction, and couldn't set up aggressive return positions. Combine that with one of the highest first serve percentages on tour, a free points machine on the tee and out wide, and an absolutely brutal +1 forehand, and you have a service game that almost never offered a legitimate look at a break. Adjusted for his height, Roger is arguably one of the best servers in the history of the sport. And the 2015 to 2017 version with the bigger racket got even scarier on big points. So, if we're scoring, Sinner lands at roughly 84 out of 100. Brilliant, modern, machine-like, and still improving. Federer clocks in closer to 92. Slightly more clutch, slightly more dangerous in big moments, and the +1 shot behind the serve is in a different universe. Sinner will hold serve. Federer will hold serve. But when the set-defining point shows up on someone's racket inside a tiebreak, Roger's service motion is the one you trust with the trophy. Small edge, Federer, but not enough to decide the match on its own. The forehand. Greatest shot ever versus most repeatable weapon on tour. Now we get to the fun part, the ground strokes. And we need to start with the forehand, because Federer's forehand is arguably the single most mythologized shot in men's tennis history. Sampras called it the greatest shot in the sport. Rafa called it the best forehand he ever faced. Djokovic has publicly said if he could steal any shot from any player, it would probably be Roger's forehand. When 3 of the 5 greatest players of all time independently agree on something, that's not hype, that's consensus. And the reasons are biomechanical. Roger could flatten it out at well over 80 miles per hour cross-court. He could snap inside-out forehands to your backhand wing with ugly precision. He could drop a casual slice that didn't even feel like a shot. It felt like an insult. The disguise was unreal. He took the ball earlier than almost anybody in his era, and he dictated sharper angles than should have been physically possible from his stance. In his prime, that forehand was the single most reliable offensive weapon in men's tennis, and it's what made every single match plan against him so complicated. Now, can Sinner hang with that? The answer is actually yes, and it's closer than old-school fans want to admit. Jannik's forehand is the best on the current tour in raw shot quality. Watch his prep, racket face pointing away from the court, compact swing, whippy bent elbow wrist snap. He generates 105 miles per hour forehand winners mid-rally like he's swatting a fly. The biggest thing about his forehand, though, isn't peak pace, it's repeatability. Same speed, same depth, same shot, again and again and again. Most guys have to choose between clean and early. Sinner doesn't choose. But here's where Federer still wins the category: variety.
Roger could cycle through 4 different types of forehands inside a single game: flat rocket, heavy topspin, inside-out bender, casual slice. Sinner plays one version of the forehand exceptionally well. If Rafa's topspin monster is a 98 and Del Potro's nuke is a 97, Federer lands at about 94, and Sinner lands around 89. Close enough to trade punches, not close enough to flip the category. Roger takes the forehand battle on points won. Sinner takes it on percentage of first strikes landed. Edge, Federer, but the gap is a lot smaller than Fed fans have been telling themselves for a decade. The backhand mismatch, nobody wants to talk about. If the forehand conversation flatters Federer, the backhand conversation is where Sinner fans should start smiling. Because this one isn't really close, and every honest Fed fan knows it. Roger's one-handed backhand was, for most of his career, the single soft spot in an otherwise complete game. That's not a criticism, it's just a known bug. The one-hander requires perfect timing to execute properly, and Rafa exposed it for years. He just kept peppering it with high-bouncing topspin to Federer's backhand wing, and for a full decade, Roger had no real answer on anything other than grass. Shanks, whiffs, short returns, unforced errors. The unforced-to-winner ratio off that side was always higher than Roger wanted. Even so, at its best, that backhand produced moments of absolute magic, especially on grass, where he could slice, block, redirect, and flick passing shots that nobody else on the planet could hit. Then 2017 happened. The bigger racket head, the new stringing, a slightly more compact motion, and a decision to stop slicing and start ripping. Suddenly, Federer had an offensive backhand.
He was taking the ball on the rise, hitting clean winners down the line, and punishing opponents for targeting that wing. That run of 4 straight wins over Rafa wasn't luck. It was a rebuilt backhand that finally weaponized what used to be a liability. But here's the problem. Even the 2017 Federer backhand is not touching Jannik Sinner's two-hander, and it's not close. Sinner's backhand is the best in the current crop by shot quality. Early unit turn, low base, compact swing, and a biomechanical slingshot that lets him take the ball on the rise without getting jammed. His average backhand speed sits around 73 miles per hour, well above the tour average of 66. Lower net clearance, more RPMs, better depth, and a top 10 placement in steal score, which measures how often a player flips defense into offense. That's Djokovic territory at his absolute best. Score-wise, give Sinner a 95 off the backhand side, with the 2017 Federer backhand around 84. Roger cannot slice his way out of this exchange. Sinner just redirects the slice for clean winners. In any neutral rally, the backhand wing quietly bleeds Federer dry. Category goes to Sinner, and by a margin big enough to actually tilt the overall match. Net play, where Federer's genius becomes literally unfair. Now, Fed fans, this is the section you've been waiting for, because the net play category is probably the most one-sided category in this entire breakdown, and it belongs to Roger in a way that isn't even up for debate. Federer at the net wasn't technique, it was art. The drop volley that landed dead, the reflex half volley that somehow found the corner, the ability to read the passing shot angle before the opponent had even swung. In the early part of his career, he played a huge percentage of points off the serve and volley. Different era, faster grass, different match tempo. But even when the sport slowed down and the baseliners took over from 2006 to 2012, Federer stayed dangerous up there.
And from 2015 onward, he actively went back to the net more often and was basically unbeatable once he was inside the service line. Precise movement, perfect timing, sharp angled volleys, and the kind of soft hands that you literally cannot coach into a player. It's almost genetic at that point. Jannik Sinner is the opposite story. Not a net player by design, but a surprisingly competent one when he has to be. His approach shots have gotten more aggressive, his volley footwork has tightened up, and when he does decide to finish at the net, his conversion rate is elite, top of the tour in recent seasons. He just doesn't choose to come in all that often because his baseline game is the one that pays the bills. He's been publicly self-critical about it too. Not enough drop shots, too predictable at the net, still a work in progress. Score it properly. Save 95 plus for the all-time serve and volley generation, your McEnroes, your Edbergs, your Sampras. Federer lands at about 91, Sinner lands at about 79. And in a hypothetical match, Roger would absolutely weaponize the net in a way that actively hurts Sinner's rhythm. Drop shots, slices, serve and volley on second serve returns to disrupt timing. Approach shots behind the Sinner backhand. The tactical playbook is huge. That kind of pressure forces Sinner into situations he doesn't rehearse at this level. Category goes to Federer without argument, and it's the single biggest stylistic lever Roger has in this matchup. If the match is going to flip Federer's way, it flips here. Movement, return, and defense. The Djokovic blueprint strikes again. Here's where the momentum starts swinging back. Because across 3 massive categories, return of serve, movement, and defense, Jannik Sinner is quietly the better player, and it isn't particularly close. Start with return. Sinner is the best returner in the world right now, full stop. He reads your serve absurdly early, uses an aggressive stance that steals time, and immediately flips into offense off the first ball. That's the Djokovic echo again, and Novak's return is widely considered the greatest in history. Sinner is walking that exact path. He wins more second serve return points, more total return points, and carries the highest break percentage on tour.
He recently adjusted his return stance and got even better results out of it. The way he grinds service games down is suffocating. Every point feels like pressure, and eventually the server cracks. Prime Federer was a good returner, and the 2017 version got better once he stopped protecting his backhand. But this is still Sinner's category, no question. Movement is where the eras get weird. Prime Roger floated. He was the quietest mover in the business, economical to the point of looking lazy, and his court reading meant he almost never looked rushed. That's genius, and it's not repeatable. Sinner is different, more athletic, more explosive, more brutal. His slides finish with better balance than anyone on tour. His wide base lets him hit full-speed ground strokes from end range, not just defensive chips. That's pure Djokovic DNA with a skiing background bolted on. On pure athleticism and recovery from full stretch, Sinner edges it. Defense follows the same pattern. Federer's defense was efficient, he just didn't get pushed into it that often. Sinner's defense is elite because he lives in it and still wins from it. Point win percentage from a defensive position is top of the tour. And when you look at how Prime Federer fared against defensive grinders, 4-6 against Andy Murray from 2004 to 2009, 7-13 against Rafa in the same window, back-to-back losses to a guy outside the top 50 at the Sunshine Double in his prime. The pattern is obvious.
Defensive players dragged points out and eventually cracked Roger. Sinner is that type of player with better offense layered on top. Big category win for Jannik and a real problem for Prime Roger. Mental game, fitness, and surfaces, where this match actually gets decided. The match doesn't get decided on shots, it gets decided on the stuff between the points, the mental game, the physical condition, and the surface underneath both players' feet. And this is where the hypothetical gets genuinely tight. Start with fitness. Sinner's biggest physical vulnerability is well documented: heat and humidity. He's cramped up, he's thrown up on court, and his record in matches north of 4 hours is not as clean as people assume. That said, he's 24, still improving, and Novak had the exact same problem at the same age before solving it almost permanently. Prime Roger, on the other hand, is a quietly elite athlete. Nobody pushed him to full physical failure often enough to expose a limit. His conditioning was excellent, and his match lengths were naturally shorter because of his first strike style. Give Roger a small edge here, around 90 to Sinner's 88, mostly because shorter points are a structural advantage. Consistency and shot selection is basically a tie. Federer's 105 straight points at the 2007 US Open without an unforced error is an all-time data point, even with his own caveat on it. Sinner's Mr. Consistent label in the modern game is earned. No bad days, no roller coaster weeks. Sinner, 94, Federer, 93. Both maxed out. Surfaces flip the story depending on where the match is played. On grass, it's Federer, and it's not close. The serve, the slice, the net game, the natural rhythm. On clay, it's more competitive than you think. Sinner is a legitimately good clay courter now, and Federer was exceptional there too. On a medium-paced hard court like Australia, the edge tilts to Sinner. Yes, the same guy who lost to a 38-year-old Novak in Melbourne, but also the same guy who completed the Sunshine Double this year and was 1 point from Roland Garros. Mentally, these are two different species of resilience. Federer ran on aura, Sinner runs on cold. A suspension, a public circus, a final at the US Open, the ATP Finals title, the Paris title, losses to Novak and Mensik, and he still comes back and sweeps Indian Wells in Miami. He is not intimidated by legacy, which is the single trait that eliminated most of Roger's prime-era opponents before the match even started. Call this category even. So, who actually wins? The verdict you didn't expect. Alright, the whole breakdown is on the table. Serve, forehand, net play, and fitness favor Federer. Backhand, return, movement, defense, and mental reset favor Sinner. Consistency is a draw. Surfaces flip depending on venue. So, who actually wins a best-of-5 between 2004 to 2007 Roger or the 2017 comeback version and the Jannik Sinner we're watching right now? Here's the honest answer. It's genuinely close, and the edge goes to whoever plays the match on their preferred surface. On grass, Federer wins in 4. His serve, slice, and net game would actively disrupt Sinner's rhythm before Jannik could set his base. Wimbledon 2006, Roger, is a nightmare for any baseliner, full stop. On clay, Federer probably wins too, but in 5, and only because his variety holds up slightly better over longer points than Sinner's repeatability. On a medium-paced hard court though, Australia, indoor Paris, the ATP finals courts, Sinner wins. And he wins the way Djokovic used to beat Federer. Return the big first serve, hang in the backhand exchanges, wait for the short ball, and punish it.
That's a 2-to-1 surface split in Federer's favor on pure matchup, with Sinner getting the surface that the modern game is actually played on most of the year. In a neutral, no-surface theoretical one-off, the margin between these two is the thinnest margin in any hypothetical all-time matchup we've broken down. We're talking about one break of serve across 5 sets. That's it. The cheat code to understanding this comparison is the Federer-Djokovic rivalry itself. Roger won big matches. Novak won more of them over time. Sinner is essentially that Novak blueprint, upgraded. Federer still has the better attacking tools. Sinner still has the better defensive structure and the colder head in a tiebreak. It wouldn't be a walk for Sinner. It wouldn't be a walk for Roger. It would be a rivalry. And tennis is worse off for never getting it. If this kind of evidence-first, no-vibes breakdown is your thing, that's exactly what Tennis Insider is built for. Stick around, hit subscribe, and drop the next comparison you want us to run in the comments. Alcaraz versus Nadal, Murray versus Wawrinka, Peak Serena versus Pete Graf, anything. We read every single one. Until the next one, keep going for the Lions.